I'm going to try something different here. I'm going to stay put. I'm not going to walk around. How many people in here did the session where they talked you through this thing called the DISC, your leadership styles, and they told you were blue or red or whatever? About half of you, good, because about 2 weeks ago we did that as a team, with my team, with Azar, with Malik, with Lynette, and they told me a little bit about myself, and it was a way that you could kind of give each other feedback in a non-threatening environment and start to feel good around each other. And so they were sharing, what do we need to do to improve? And they very politely told me, oh, you're a little bit too verbose, you like to talk. They very politely told me I need to learn to shut the hell up. So since I'm the only thing standing between you and getting out of here, I'm going to try to make this as quick as I can. I will also tell you that the second best boss I ever worked for, behind the illustrious To Bunyi, the chief of SSI, was a general named Maureen LaBeouf. Some of you know I used to work for the U.S. Army, and she gave me instructions one time. She wanted me to address the department, and I said, well, what do I say? And she said, I don't really care how you say, but I'll give you 3 words of advice. Be brief, be bright, and be gone. So I'm going to try my best. If I start to walk around, we'll be here till Tuesday. So I'm going to try to get done in about 10 minutes. What I want to do is I've been asked to just kind of talk a little bit about the past and a little bit about the future. And this is a tough act to follow because we've just heard about some ideas about what it's going to take to make Singapore sports great. I think the answer is simple. The answer is in this room. I really do. I think we've made massive first steps toward being great again. The future, you've heard me say this before, the future is you. The most important player in any of this is you, the coaches. I said to the minister yesterday, I said to the MP that was here, literally the health of our nation depends upon you, the coaches. Nobody my age, and believe it or not, I'm late 50s. I know I look like I'm about 20 and have premature balding. But a guy like me is never going to start to exercise at my age when a doctor tells me to if my experiences with sport were miserable. If my only experience with somebody that made me feel bad, told me I was no good, screamed at me, I'm not going to start exercising. It's very simple. We are the tip of the spear. Our coaches, the health of our nation is in the hands of our coaches. And that's more than just the success of a sporting team. That's ultimately the success of our nation socially. Also, is anybody going to buy seats at $150 a pop in the stadium for a football match if, again, they were told they were never good enough to play? We've seen statistics up here about the business impact of sport. All of it starts with you. So what I want to do is I want to celebrate a little bit about what we've been able to accomplish together over the last few years, and then just give you maybe 10 minutes or so about where we think we'll be in the coming year. Who was here last year? If you remember my closing last year, I said never say never, and I'll say it again. People told us when we had the conference last year we'd never get more than 100 people in one room. And we had about 300 last year, and we had about 300 this year. The only reason this picture up here is not the one from the first day here is because the slides were made a few days easy. This is what we've been able to put together. We've been able to create a community of coaches that together are committed to making the sporting ecosystem fantastic in Singapore. And we look forward to continuing that. Last year, we promised you that we would deliver on some activities to support you. You asked for a few things. You asked for greater accessibility and greater affordability of programs. You asked for learning the way you wanted it, not to sit in a classroom and be killed death by PowerPoint. We call that waterboarding or torture. We don't call that education. You asked about ways that we could meet you where you were and teach you things that you wanted to know. In 2014, when I got here, the coaching development program had KPI to conduct 4 continuing education programs a year, and we charged people $50 for each of the sessions. This year, we've done over 90, and we've had almost 3,000 coaches attend. In 2015, when we proposed the creation of this program, to the government through a program called RF funding. We took the bold, audacious, hairy step of saying we think in 1 year we can get 1,000 coaches to participate in these continuing education programs. Hell, we've had almost that many in this conference and just a couple other events in the last year. So we've got a community, and you've demonstrated it through attendance at all these events like this that we've helped to facilitate. You've come together. Almost 3,000 people have benefited from these programs. We also recognize that a good sporting ecosystem comes from good coaches. In order to produce good coaches, we have to have good coach training programs. We call those, we don't call them coach educators anymore, because that's what we used to call them when you sat in a room and were tortured by death by PowerPoint. Now we call them coach developers, who are actually helping you get to be better coaches. And we've started a vibrant program of that. Handful of the folks are in here, Danny, Simeng, a few of you guys who are embedded in the NSAs. We've brought you in and we've taught you how to make learning more fun for coaches. And you've gone back and you've done more of that in your NSAs. And we're going to continue to do that. We've touched about 25 sports so far. Our goal is to have one of these people that have gone through these programs in every single NSA within about the next 2 or 3 years. It's what we need to do and what we owe to you to make your education and your development more vibrant and more relevant. You also asked about what we could do to help you feel good about coaching. We've heard a lot about how coaching is kind of a tireless road. In the last couple of years, we've reintroduced this thing called Coaches Day. The last couple of years, we've had over 100 coaches, each of the Coaches Day, come together just a day of fun about coaches. One thing we realized, too, nobody talks about the great coaches, a handful of whom we've had up here. We've done some of these things where last year we invited every coach of every medalist of the SEA Games or the APG to come to a special night at Zook, which if you're under the age of 50, I guess is a pretty cool place. And we had a fun night where we celebrated coaches, and we gave them all an award, and we're doing the same this year. We're having a night at the end of November for anybody that coached a medalist in the Commonwealth Games, the Asian Para Games, where we can celebrate the great accomplishments of our coaches. Coaches Day, Coaches Appreciation Night, the board that we have up here that we've now put up in SSI, where we finally have public recognition for some of our great coaches. We also know that this industry is a tough one. We had a couple of representatives of partners that we've joined with this morning talk about E2I. We do a lot. Our goal, I'll tell you a secret here, our goal in CoachSG, and I know there'll be 10 people that will laugh here, we talk about our goal being one thing, to find as many things that we can do using OPM. Anybody know what OPM is? Other people's money. That's our goal. We've tried to find a way that we can help you do as much as you can to get better, expending as little bit out of your pocket as we can through Skills Future, through E2I. Big round of applause for E2I. They were huge in helping us put this together. But we've started to partner with groups like Sports Coach Association, NICA, who was here today, rallying support. NTUC recognized our efforts as a friend of the labor movement, which was a pretty darn cool recognition of the things that we're doing, all in our attempts to try to make the industry recognize the value of sport coaching and to give you better opportunities to promote yourself and your own development. We also have tried to put out there that coaching's a big deal. We've got a huge social media presence. We've got well over 1,000 likes on these things that I don't even know what they are, but my kids do. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these things. And our stories are out there, and you can see some of the examples of coaches that we've highlighted in the media. We've had some coaches' bios that we put out that literally thousands and thousands of people have looked at. Now, 3/4 of them may have been themselves and their family, but we think that it was maybe the public. At least we hope so. Because we're trying to promote the good deeds of our sport coaches through continued efforts at narrative building, through our newsletters. How many folks in here have gotten our newsletters? We're trying to send you out as much relevant information as we can, as quickly as we can. And if you don't like it, it's easy. You delete it. If you like it, you print it out and you use it. We also have continued to realize that the strengths of our program is that we didn't think them up. They came from you guys. So at least every couple of months, I don't know, Lynette, we still doing it once a month? Our goal is to go as close to once a month as we can of an open session with coaches engagement session with a variety of topics. Whatever's on of importance at that given time, we bring coaches together and we talk about things like our code of ethics, SportsSync, which is the new online presence for NROC, medical insurance. We do all these in collaboration with sport coaches, where we just get coaches together for a few hours and talk about what's important for coaches in Singapore. And again, our huge success story, I think, from a dollars and cents perspective, is the financial subsidies that we've been able to put together with some of our sponsors, Skills Future and E2I in particular. Now, just very quickly, I want to talk a little bit about, I've got 4 more minutes. 4 minutes, I'm good, I'll get through it. I want to look a little bit about some of the things that you can look forward to in the coming year. And this is obviously not a sprint. We got a long distance race here, and we've just kind of run the first straightaway of it. We've realized that our curriculum and framework, let me give you a brief historical perspective because there were questions. 1993, we rolled out the cornerstone of our coaching development program, which was a coaching education program called the National Coaching Accreditation Program. Didn't change for 20 years. We took a system from Canada, brought it in, changed the word Canada, said Singapore, there it is, it's now ours. 20 years later, we realized there were some challenges with it, tweaked it, made some pretty significant changes into the SG Coach Excellence Program. 2013, been around now for about 4 years functioning. We realized that we've had some growing pains, need to make it more user-friendly. We have embarked in a serious, deep review of what's worked and what hasn't worked in our education system. For example, we realized that we need to revise the curriculum and focus areas. Our basic sports science curriculum and our theory curriculum, while important, we realize that there's a problem. When you learn sports science in a classroom and you lose coaching skills in a classroom and then you learn the skill itself someplace else, it's not the most effective way to learn. It's better to try to integrate that all, and so you learn it all in the sport context. So we're trying to work with our NSAs to encourage all of them to go the route of developing what we call integrated program. Really applied sports science. We won't compromise the importance of it, but we got to make it so it makes sense to a coach. It's not just on a smart board at RP, it's in the sporting context. And we've also taken the values and principles in sport course, which was up there, which again was a 6-hour sentence a few years back where you sat there and 3/4 of people fell asleep because it was death by PowerPoint. And we've made it more vibrant, trying to address current issues among sport coaching, and it's become a really interactive program, and the response to that has been absolutely incredible. But we're going to announce in the next few months some really interesting changes that I think coaches will be quite happy about in our formal pathway, because we'll really meet the needs of the industry and make it more appropriate and effective for coaches. In terms of continuing education, this is just an example of some of the things that we'll do, but this program's success depends upon you. Said we've done about 90 of these this year. We haven't done them all, but we've been involved in publicizing them, supporting them, encouraging people to participate. But we don't know what you need. You know what you need. We need the feedback from you to help us to fill this void. I will tell you that probably the 2 greatest things that we've seen are, number one, sports NSAs stepping up and filling the huge void of having nothing within their sport. 4 or 5 years ago, there was nothing that was sports specific. We had swimming coaches going to netball courses, going to hockey courses, because they couldn't find anything that would work with them. Our NSAs have stepped up. They've done a good job. They've come to us. We've helped them. We've given a little bit of seed money when needed. But we've said, you got to help us with this. We can make them better coaches, but you can make them a better hockey coach. You can make them a better swimming coach. You need to be the one telling them how to be a better gymnastics coach. And they've done it. The other thing that we've started to do is create this program that the minister mentioned yesterday, where we threw it out to you. Said, can you help us fill the void? We've had any number of coaches that have come forward and said, I'll teach one. I've got an idea about something. Beatrice, who was in here yesterday, table tennis rules. We have an old expression that you heard last year. Wade Gilbert said, when one person teaches, 2 people learn. When she teaches her peers, it not only gives her an opportunity to work on her knowledge, It provides an opportunity for learning as well, but it creates that community of coaches that we talked about in the last one. And those are two very, very exciting initiatives. So if anybody wants to help us by sharing their knowledge with their coaches, we give you a little bit of money to help do it, but we give you a little bit of time and professional development, which is even more important. We've also had these continuing coach developer efforts, which, as I mentioned, we hope to expand the offerings in the next year or so. We've also branched out into online learning. You heard Leap this morning. That's our first step into what they're doing, small bite-sized chunks. We're really investigating some big fun things at our level, but we've already had some NSAs that have come forward, swimming being the most recent example, that have put a lot of their level 1 curriculum at our urging and with our full support. They put it online. Why sit in a classroom and have somebody tell you stuff that you can learn on your own, and then you come in and you learn to apply it? This is the future. This is what you want. You want to learn when you want to learn it. We have to meet that need for you. So, and of course, some of you have probably seen SportsSync, which is our brand new big, giant data management system that Sports Singapore has set up that now all the NROC is on as well. We have been involved as kind of the education arm of Sports Singapore in promoting safe sport. And we had in May the first ever Safe Sport Forum that involved NSA reps. Look, we need to make this clear to you. Safe sport is probably the single biggest threat to sport in the world today, right? It's a global sporting problem. It's not a Singapore problem, although we're not immune to the problem. It's not uniquely a Singapore problem, and it's certainly not a coaching problem. But we've taken the lead because we have a mechanism in place to assist in education, but also we think it's our job to protect the profession. We have gotten, in the past 5 years, we've gone from an environment where people didn't trust performances because of drugs to now because of the actions of some doctors or administrators or coaches around the world, where parents globally are starting to question the safety of their child in a sporting session. We need to protect our coaches by ensuring participants and their families that our coaches are ethical and professional. And that's why we've stepped into this world in protecting our coaches through a really solid code of ethics. We're going to continue to do some work within the industry, and those are things like asking employers to require the National Registry of Coach membership. This year, January 1, we announced that all teachers or all coaches in the MOE system needed to be at least provisional members of the National Registry of Coaches. All the NSA employed coaches need to be. All of our active SG or Sport SG coaches are part of that registry. The number of coaches in the registry has gone from about 1,700 3 years ago to now about 3,600. That allows us now to offer these kind of educational system assistance as well. But recently we've had a few more come on board. NYSI, for example, now requires NROC medicine. Some of the institutions of higher learning, RP, our partner, all their coaches now, SIM, more to come. More and more people are recognizing the value of the National Registry of Coaches. We don't want those coaches out there that have no business calling themselves a coach, saying I'm a coach and hanging up their shingle. We want people to understand that coaching is a profession and that you're here because you're committed to that. So the last slide I've got is, and I think I did it just under the window here, is just a big thank you to all these folks. And it's not an all-inclusive list. It's just a list of some of the partners that we've joined with, and they run the gamut from institutions, from NSAs to bodies. These are all the folks that have joined us in trying to do everything we can to help you. But again, the last thing I'll say is none of this is possible without you, and all of it is for you. We work for you. We are in the service industry. So we need your help in telling us how best we can continue to help you get better every single day. Because what we've seen over the last couple of days is everything in terms of the basic materials to make Singapore great is right here in this room. Whatever you need to get better every day, whatever we can do, reach out to us and let us know. But we want to thank you for joining us for for this first big step over the last 2 days. So if I could ask the CoachSG staff if you could stand up and just give all the coaches in this room a big round of applause with me. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next year.